Hey, Twisted people. It's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And thank you so much for joining me because we're going to talk about Titans. Yes, Titans. Um, I see people are already talking in the chat, and I want to point out thank you all who are joining me in the live chat. And those of you who are watching and joining in the replay, it's always appreciated because I love using this channel to talk and deep dive in with all of you when it comes to these stories, whether it is horror, science fiction, superhero, and all of that jam. And so we got to talk about Titans episode 12, the episode right before the season finale. And we got to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And first and foremost, I don't know if all of you have heard, but Titans has been renewed for season 4. We got the official announcement. There was some stuff going on in the interwebs, people saying it was already blah, blah. But we got the official announcement that we are getting a Titans season 4. What we didn't get, which, was also going through the grapevine, was a so-called Red Hood spinoff. That was not announced at all. Whether that is still happening, who knows? I still think they might still be doing it just because of the way this season 3 shaped up for reasons. And, we're going to talk about it. I want to know in the live chat, and for those of you in the replay, tell me, are you excited that we got a season 4 and why? Of course, with the season finale, I do want to, I want to take the season finale when it happens to talk about what we loved and hated, and also what we want more of in season 4, since we seem to be getting it. But do you think this show needs a season 4? Do you think we should be getting a season 4? I am of the opinion that I do want a season 4, if only to maybe finally go back to the core of season 1 that we had. Because that's the thing about this show with me, it's the potential of it. There's some kinetic forces, as in I've seen the potential actually realized in some instances, and then there's a lot of lopsidedness when it comes to that potential being realized or actualized, right? So but yeah, I want to check in with you all. Let's see who's in the chat with us. Hey Josh, thanks for joining. Let's see. Ray saying, can't wait to hear your take on this. Excited. Hey, Ray, thanks for joining. Chi-Chi is asking me, why did you stop Doom Patrol? I did. I fell off of Doom Patrol. I wasn't doing it as much. And Doom Patrol also got another DC show, kind of the sister show of Titans, and probably way better written, if we're being honest. Also got renewed for season 4. So I may actually be going back into reviewing it, but I have to catch up because with all the content and things that I review, because y'all know my, full-time thing is to watch content and critique and dissect and research stuff. So it was one of the shows that kind of fell behind for me, but I might get back into it. Deb, thanks for joining us, Deb. Deb is saying, we need to talk about this episode. Chauncey, waiting to hear your thoughts. Bannon is joining us also in the live chat. Yeah, and then Bannon is saying, yeah, but are fans really happy for Red Hood? I'm totally excited for season 4, but don't really want a Red Hood. Yeah, we got to talk about it because we might be getting it. Icky is also joining us in the live chat. Hi, Icky, as always. Okay. So what do we have actually happening in this episode? So we had the Lazarus Pit once again, which seems to be I always want to say it, but I always am afraid I'm going to say it wrong. The Deus Ex Machina. Am I saying it right? Deus Ex Machina. You know what I'm talking about. That little conviction. I swear, y'all, I have a degree in drama. That little convention that they have in storylines where something can just basically fix everything, right? Because, Nightwing got shot, and, there were some people that were really upset about, like, oh my gosh, they killed Nightwing. But I think a good amount of us who kind of know this show figured he wasn't going to stay dead, and he didn't. And they used the Lazarus Pit, the often used Lazarus. I feel like the Lazarus Pit has made a lot of appearances in live action DC shows. I believe it made an appearance in Arrow as well. Okay, so we had Nightwing. We had the whole thing with Connor, who I feel like, I mean, is this his villain origin story? Is this Connor's villain origin story? I mean, what? Let's talk about it. We had Gar. They made Gar turn into a bat, y'all. A bat. Just so he could pick Dick up to take him to the Lazarus pit. Why not turn him into a gorilla? You know, a gorilla can carry stuff too. They made him turn into a bat. Anything for a bat reference. Am I right? She says that she wears her Batman shirt. But I'm going to say it. That's how y'all know I'm a fan. I'm not talking malicious because I love Batman. I love it. You know, I got it. You know, this week I want to talk about that the Batman trailer and stuff. You know, I'm talking about it. But for this show, Titans, it was like, wow, a bat. And then, you know, we had Barbara. We finally saw Barbara again. And then we had the thing with Tim and Donna's situation, and whatever's going on with Scarecrow. So we got a lot of things to talk about, right? We got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about it bit by bit. But y'all, if you haven't already, please do give this video a thumbs up, a like, because, you know, feed the algorithm monster. Let other people, you know, hear about it, know about it. Ray is saying, I'm not mad at this episode for the season and for Titans. I was with this episode as a fan. Josh is saying, I can't wait to see more development for Starfire season 4. You and me both, Josh. You and me both. Bandit saying, was rather sad they didn't have Rachel resurrect him. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about that. They nerfed Rachel's powers this season, right? For plot points. Let's be clear here. They have nerfed Rachel's powers for plot points. For Donna's plot point, for the whole thing with Tim, which I did like that. I like souls. But let's be real. Had they not nerfed Rachel, she would have been able to bring Donna back. That wouldn't have been a question. But they had to do it. They had to make it so she couldn't, so that we could have that episode. And the same thing with Dick. They had to make it so she couldn't, so that we could have this Lazarus pit thing. Okay? Let me know if you agree with me or not on that, but we'll talk about it because I honestly think they nerfed her for plot points. Ray is saying, I think we are going to see more development for Starfire abilities that is more energy based than fire. Okay. Yes, Deb, we have to talk about that too. So Dick and Starfire have a daughter. Yes. Mari. Yes. Yeah, we may be seeing that, and that is going to be awesome if we see Mari coming through in the clutch. I would love to see her in the show if we get her. That is you know, that's Dick and Corey's future child, depending on what universe and whatnot. So we may be getting that, and I'd be very excited if we got that. I'd be here for it. But we're going to talk about that as well. There were a few things that I was happy about with this season. I mean, with this episode in particular, with this episode in particular. I actually want to find that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to find a picture of Mari actually from the comic books because she actually has significant plot lines in the comics, and I think Mari deserves her due as well in terms of she's significant depending on who gets to tell her story. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, so there are a few things that happen. And so y'all, before we get into it, let me know if you had to give this episode a grade, what would it be? And, you know, briefly, why? Were you feeling this episode? Do you think it could have been a lot better? Do you think it was lackluster? Do you think did it feel like an episode to you that did it feel like an episode to you that is right before the season finale, right? I think in some ways, I will say I think it did. It did feel like an episode that was before the season finale. I still find myself shaking my head at the end of it, mainly because it ended with Crane. And I just shake my head at Crane. I shake my head at what they did with Scarecrow this season. So I was shaking my head for a number of reasons, but we're going to talk about that. So if you had to give it a grade, what would it be? For me, I would give this a solid B. This was a B episode. I think it could have been better. And the reason why I didn't give it an A, because honestly, I loved the fact that we saw all of the Titans, right? Everyone was utilized to a certain degree, and everyone kind of had some nugget of development in terms of us, even if it was the most minuscule moving forward of plot line or development for them, they got something. I love seeing my boy from the lab. I actually really hope the character in the lab of the government facility lab that Com and Corey were in, and Connor, I hope that guy comes back. I hope he's like reoccurring, because he's so funny. And I think the Titans need a character that can help them with technology and stuff, right? Every show of superheroes kind of needs that kind of character that helps them with kind of stuff, and they kind of go to for things and gadgets. And he seems like he'd be a real cool addition to Titans for that. I think they should do that. I kind of hope we see that character again. I really liked him. I really like him. I think he's a good comedy relief, but also like one of those side characters that you can come to love, and so I give it a solid B because of the fact that we saw everyone, which was something that was severely lacking, I think, this season. The reason why I don't give it an A is because I still, and I think it's more so in the connection to the bigger context of this season, which is Scarecrow. And I'm going to keep saying this, and every time I have to keep saying this, I will knock off a grade for each episode. As long as Scarecrow in this iteration is allowed to continue to be the big bad, I will have to keep knocking off grade, because it's still contrived that this is still going on. It's still seriously contrived. At this point, it almost feels like the other Titans, aside from Dick and Jason, aren't even concerned with Scarecrow. I feel like Corey and Com got their own thing going on. She about to leave the planet. Corey's almost about saying she about to leave the planet to go with Com and stuff like that. I feel like the super powered heroes of our team are kind of like done with Gotham. I feel like the only reason why Donna cares is because of Tim and his family and the people she's trying to protect. But I feel like most of them aren't that concerned. Maybe it's because they don't have that connection to Gotham, right? And at some point, it's kind of like, listen, why are we so concerned? And let's be honest, they could take this guy out. There's no reason why they couldn't take this guy out at this point. But here we are. And so as long as he's still allowed to just kind of run rampant, I'm still gonna call foul. And that's where I'm at with that. Josh is saying, I'm with you on the rating and the reasons why. Thank you, Josh. Deb is saying, I give it a B-. Ray is saying, I give it an A. Bannon is saying, agreed, a solid B. I like seeing everyone play some kind of part, but some of it all feels forced. Yeah. Ray is saying, looking back at it in canon, I think Tim Drake would probably be a better successor to Barbara as Oracle than as a Robin, to be honest. Just skill set wise, he is in the same ballpark of that. Let's see. Van is saying, I got the same vibes, Chauncey K. Heck, at this point, if Connor goes full dark, all he has to do is laser his eyes, right? Okay. So yeah, I gave it a solid B, but to me, as long as they are, and let's be real, they have dragged out this Scarecrow thing, and they have continued to do that. So as long as he is still allowed to be the big bad at this point, I'm going to knock it, because I just think it's been contrived that that's been allowed to go on to the point where nothing else even feels as authentic as it could be, because this is being allowed to happen in the background or the foreground of, this whole season, right? Icky is saying B-. Yes. I think a lot of us are in the same range in terms of, the grade. So let's talk about Scarecrow first. Let's get that out. Since I was talking about Scarecrow or Crane, because he's not Scarecrow proper at this point. He's not. But he's got the cuts, which is, I think many people have been saying, it just reminds you of Chucky. I think pretty much by Bride of Chucky, when he had the cut up stitch face. That's the vibe I'm getting from this guy. It's silly. He was walking around with his crop crop cutter, just handling it. He's off his rocker at this point, right? He's really kind of gone off the deep end. And in a way, he has evolved. In the beginning of this season, what we got with Scarecrow was a character who, for all, he was a little bit of a weed head, but he seemed very much in control of things. And then as things got more into it, you know, we saw that he was unstable. You know, they created this whole like subplot line with him and his mama for whatever reason, probably to get him to this point, because other than that, how would it make sense if you don't kind of make it so that this character has real baggage? And I talked about this last live stream for those who were here, where I talked about this show has a tendency to make its characters that it wants to write for or is choosing to write for have baggage. If they don't have some type of complex or baggage, they usually don't get shine. This show doesn't tend to write for well-adjusted, level-headed characters. I don't know, maybe they don't think that's as sexy as daddy issues and things like that, but they don't. So Crane was also given the I got some broken baggage issues, and that's where we're at with this guy. But it's the thing is, they probably should have made him this in the beginning. Maybe then I could have maybe sort of gotten, if he was so chaotic, you didn't know where he was coming from with stuff from the very beginning, I could have maybe gotten why he would get over on Grayson and the Titans as a whole, but he's only gotten this way at this point. So it didn't really make sense that he was like this that he had this advantage for most of the season to me. And so, okay, sure. And that's where we're at. So they have him like, he starts throwing his crop cutter at Jason. And that made no sense to me. That made no sense. Because Jason like backs up and runs out. Didn't you go? I mean, you lost. Yes. Jason lost when he fought against Nightwing, but he held his own for the most part. Of course, Nightwing is more skilled than him and better in a lot of regards, so he beat him. But I'm really finding it hard to believe that Jason could not have taken out Crane in that moment when he started throwing that crop cutter at him. Like, this guy's got no combat skills. You mean to tell me you got guns on you and everything and you freak out and run? Like, is that where we're at with Jason at this point? Like, that's where we're at? That he's a punk with everybody now? I mean, I could understand it with Nightwing because he knows Nightwing can beat him. But, I mean, the dude is actually a pretty good fighter. Jason has been a good fighter. We've seen that in the other seasons. He's good at combat. He's not better than Nightwing, but he's good at combat. I really just didn't understand why he ran away from Crane's crazy butt with that heavy cropper, like he wasn't going to be able to do anything. It made no sense. Once again, another contrived way to keep this going with Scarecrow. NTLY, thanks for joining us. 10 is saying Jason could have creamed Crane. He really could have. And they made it so he didn't. And I just was like, what? Like, what? Like, what's going on here? Trant, hey, Trant saying, hey, I'm late, but I made it. Mind giving a quick recap. I didn't watch this week after the horrible last episode, but I enjoy your stream so much I had to join. Well, we're going through it right now. So right now we're at Crane. Crane got stuff from the city. He's basically gonna, right now, as many of you were wondering, what was Crane's, like, I was confused too. I didn't understand what Crane was trying to do to the city. And it seems as though he has this master plan to basically kill everybody. I don't know how that's a master plan, but he basically has his master plan to release the fear toxin, the fear gas, which is crazy because it's like, okay, so why didn't he just go straight to that in the first place? Why the water thing? So now he's got all the stuff. He got it from the vault that Batman was holding. And so he's trying to basically kill everyone. Sure. Yes, Icky is saying, heck, I could have creamed Crane. Man's not exactly in top shape. He's really not. I didn't understand that. And so basically Crane ran Jason out of the mansion with his crop cutter. No real weapon, just, swinging his crop cutter. Jason runs out and Crane has the his corrupt officers bring him basically all these vials of what my understanding is fear toxin that he's going to release out on the city. So he's going to make the whole city go crazy. He's trying to bring the city to his knees because, as he explains to Jason, you got to let the city be destroyed before we can build it back up. Just crazy stuff. Doesn't make any sense. Really doesn't make sense. If everyone's dead, how are you going to build it back up? If everyone kills each other, how are you going to build it back up? So basically, we're in the hands of a crazy man at this point. That's where we're at. He doesn't have some diabolical plan. It's not even that good of a plan, to be quite honest. I felt like Scarecrow's plan in the original Batman cartoon series from the 90s made more sense of how he wanted to release fear toxin everywhere to just get people to explore their real problems. So the whole thing with Scarecrow, if I could give many grades within, it's just a D right now, because it's not, it's just not realistic. And I mean for a superhero show, it's not realistic. I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about a superhero show. It's not realistic. It's just not. It's just not. And Deb is saying, all this is why I give it a B-. Yes. Ray is saying, I feel like they be playing games with Jason and his combat skills. He is a beast in his own right. He really is. I remember his introduction when he first came on. I believe it was the first season, wasn't it? And he came on, he broke that guy's back. It was I was like, whoa, he's vicious, but he's good. And I'm just like, wow. I get it. The only person that can beat him really is Nightwing when it comes to combat. I feel like Corey and Calm could probably also give him a run for his money, maybe even Donna too. But he's pretty skilled, and what I'm saying is, like, it would take these people to beat him, not low-level Crane. So it doesn't even make much sense. So that's that. That's where we're at. He's about to basically bring the city to its knees and whatnot. So then, let's talk about one of the things that was a central part of this, Dick and the Lazarus Pit. We had Dick go into the Lazarus Pit, y'all. He got shot. I don't know who really thought he was going to stay dead, but he didn't stay dead. Guard turned into a bat. Guard turned into a bat. Oh my gosh. I'll talk about that in a second. Guard turned into a bat, took him to the Lazarus Pit. He could have turned into a gorilla, took him to but okay. It was symbolic. We got it. Symbolism. And then Dick basically has to face some of his fears, some of his issues. It's the fight for his soul. They made it so Rachel couldn't heal him, which was ridiculous because we literally saw Rachel heal a dead deer in season 1 that had the same kind of shot to its neck that Dick got. Yet somehow she couldn't heal Dick. It was too late. It's too late. You just felt him get shot and you made it to him, and now it's too late. You literally brought a deer back to life in season 1 with the same wound, but this is too late. Sure, this was a way for us to get the Lazarus Pit, right? Yeah, I called it last week. They were gonna put him in the Lazarus. This was a way for us to get the Lazarus Pit, right? Okay, so he goes into the Lazarus Pit, and we kind of I felt like, and let me know in the chat and in the replay, y'all, did you feel like this was a little bit of a redux of the end of season 1? In fact, I kind of think I like the season 1 way they did this with him, where it was an alternative Gotham, and he was trying to, Batman had gone off the realms, and it was kind of like a reflection of symbolism of what he was holding on to, right? And at the end of it, he kills Batman. He kind of fails the test because he ends up killing Batman. He becomes the killer. He becomes the evil Batman in his dream. So he kind of failed. Now, in the negative, if we want to look at this of the glass half empty, we could say this was just a redux of that. And why would we do that again? Sure. Now, funny enough, I'm going to try to look at this as the glass half full and saying that they did a redux of it, but this time he actually passed the test. That's what I wanted. That's what I'm going to tell myself this, y'all. Even if I'm just being delusional, I'm going to tell myself they made him do the Lazarus Pit of going through his emotions. So, and this is what I got from it, right? What I got from this was that, and I kind of like that they were pushing this message. He was a Grayson. Yes, Batman was like his stepdad in a way, his other father, but he did have a father. He had someone that raised him and who he loved. Did I believe Crane in saying like, oh, you know, you would have made your dad so sad. Not necessarily, but I get what they're kind of trying to do. Because for this season, right, Dick has tried to be Batman. He's been Nightwing, but he's also been Nightwing trying to be Batman, right? Trying to go at it solo, kind of taking it all on his own. Even there's been instances, right, where he's even told Corey and stuff, well, Batman wouldn't do that. I got to do what Batman would do. And, you know, Corey's been like, what? You know, rightfully so, making his wife mad. And so I like that this kind of said, hey, you know, it kind of did a thing of saying, you're not Batman. You know, you're not, that's not who you are. And that's okay that that's not who you are. You're Dick Grayson's, you know, son. And, or not Dick, you're a Grayson and stuff. And you should be proud of that. Like, lead with love. You don't have to fuel your hate and stuff. I thought it was a little contrived that Crane was the one that was in there, because I feel like Crane is not some deep antagonist to Nightwing, but I get it. Why bring in some other character at this point? He just is symbolism. I did also think it was a bit much that they made it seem like Dick was so, I mean, I guess it kind of revealed that he has been holding all this guilt when it comes to Donna's death, when it comes to Hank's death, when it comes to what happened to Jason and everything, that he's been holding that on himself. And so if this instance of him going through this, of seeing his dad again and his dad being like, it's all right, I love you, maybe this is finally, I'll say it again, finally, them putting this to bed. Because this has been a reoccurring, overdone, you know, angle that they've had with Dick, of him not getting out of the shadow of Batman to be his own person. And it really was driven home this season with him trying to like be the Batman of Gotham. Hey, they even have it in the comic books, right? Isn't in some iterations of the comics, Nightwing has literally become Batman. He's put on the Batman suit. And maybe this is finally them allowing him to make peace with that and move on. There's other plot lines for Nightwing besides him feeling under the shadow of Batman. And maybe they'll actually allow him to be the leader of the Titans and deal with Titans villains from here on out. One can hope. But that's me looking at the glass half full when it comes to what he went through in the pit, to kind of just be like, hey, you're Grayson. Yeah, Batman helped you, but you got to be your own person and stop leading with all this anger and sadness and just accept love. I hope that's what they finally do, because if we have to go through this again, this is stupid at that point. The other thing we saw in the Lazarus pit of Dick's dream was very obviously him and his daughter. She said daddy, and let's be real, she looked like him and Corey. And I think that was kind of because, you know, Greg, the showrunner, Greg Walker, did say that fans who have a keen eye will know where they're trying to take the Dick and Corey plot line in a bombshell that happens, you know, sometime in this season. I think that was it. Let me know if you agree, but I definitely think what we saw was Dick and Corey's child from the future, from the possible future. And that'll be cool. I mean, I'm glad, because I do ship Dick and Corey. I think they're the best couple for each other in all of the universes, in the comics and the live action. But I also am like, wow, that's out of left field, because you've been having this whole thing with him and Barbara. Like, you got to build up these relationships, y'all. Like, do better. I don't understand, but I am happy that we got it. So let me see what you all are saying when it comes to this. Yeah, Bannon is saying, I was wondering if I was the only one who remembered the deer. Yes, I remember. Oh, you know, I remember the deer. She healed that deer. Same kind of wound that Dick had. Yet this time it was too late. Deb is saying a whole damn season and still can't stop a psychotic man with no superpowers, right? Jay, thanks for joining us in the chat, Jay. Jay is saying the writing and story this season is horrible. Okay. Ray is saying, why hasn't any Bat series involved the Court of Owls with his absence? I mean, this season of Batman Inc. or Batwoman might as well go to it with the Secret Society. Good villains, that is a threat. Yeah. Let's see. Bannon is talking about in terms of Dick's story. I thought it was over last season until they started it again. I hope they do let it move on. Exactly. Let me see. Yeah, let's see. Andreas, thanks for joining us. Is saying, I don't know why people get so angry. Do what I do. Shut off my brain every episode. Well, I mean, I can't do that. I'm a critic. I got to look at stuff critically, and I also love the source material. So I just want them to do justice by it. I think they do such a great job with Doom Patrol, and I'm just like, what happens with this show? What's going on, right? Trent is saying, okay, I must admit that whole Lazarus sequence low-key makes me want to go back and watch. It wasn't a bad episode. It honestly wasn't. I gave it a B. Many people here, our community here, gave it a B and an A or B minus. But it wasn't a bad episode. And I admit the Lazarus pit sequence wasn't bad. It was good. I'm glad they didn't do what they did in season 1, where it was the whole entire episode. I'm really glad about that. But I think it did its job. If they are finally going to let him move on, I think it did its job. Now, if this keeps going and he's still who he is, the type that he is, then what was the point of it, right? But maybe, and you notice, it was so interesting. They made him come out of the pit not in his costume either. He came out in his street clothes. I don't know. Like, is he going to have his street clothes later, or does he need a new suit? Like, that was a little weird that he came out and he didn't come out in his clothes. He just came out in his street clothes. He just totally lost his outfit. I didn't know why that was a thing. Icky is saying it's going to be awkward for Dick being around Corey after that. I hate that there was no build up, but we got zero chemistry from Dick Babs. I agree. They're going to have to, wrap that up for the two of them. But I don't think it was ever really shown as a full-blown romance, to be honest. They kissed once. They were supposed to go out on a date. They had affection for each other. But it really, honestly, if we have to compare to like what we got with Connor and Com, wow, they really played Dick Babs down in this, right? Viola, thanks for joining us in the chat. Viola saying, I like Dick and Corey together too, but I hope they use season 4 to actually develop their relationship instead of making them happen without earning it. I agree, Viola. And let's keep our fingers crossed that is what they do. Jay is saying, yeah, what was that all about? The Lazarus pit, Morse clothes? I don't know. That was just weird to me. I was like, why is he coming? What happened to his suit? Are they going to have to make another one? I don't know. Like, I was like, what? Like, what's going on? I didn't get it. But when it comes to Dick's plot line, I hope that this is a step forward. Finally, it needs to be. But I'm glad we got a glimpse of perhaps him and Corey's future child. I think it was very obvious it was him and Corey's future child. They did not make it ambiguous at all that this was clearly him probably having a relationship with a Black woman. So I think that cuts Barbara out of it. And I don't want no one doing mental gymnastics talking about him and Barbara could have adopted a kid. No, that was him and Corey's kid. I don't know can people tell me, what do you think the red balloon was about though? Why was she holding a red balloon? What was that in reference to? I mean, it's probably something very obvious because I was paying attention to so much other stuff. But let me know, what do you think that red balloon was about? Why was she holding that? What's that in significance to? But yeah, he comes out of Lazarus pit, and oh my gosh, shocker, Nightwing's not dead. He's not dead. So, and I kind of want to talk briefly about Rachel and Gar in this context, and we're on this. Gar got to change into something. I was not necessarily happy that it was a bat of all things, but I also can understand that this is a Batman type show, and I have just kind of accepted that, at least for this season. Next season, I'm rewinding it back, and I'm going to say, hey, now you got a chance to really do a full-fledged Titans show, bring in Titans villains. But hey, we've been in Gotham for the majority of it. So yeah, he turned into a bat. Cool. I I'm glad he turned into something else. I also was glad that him and Rachel got to have a conversation about Gar's powers. Maybe they'll add some baggage for Gar, because that seems to be the only way they're allowed to write for people. But I think it was good for him to kind of explain why it's making it so hard for him to change into something else, and why it's locked behind a door. And one can hope that going into next season, they will explore that more for Gar, that maybe he'll work with Rachel to kind of unlock his feelings and why it's like that. What is he afraid of? You know, maybe something from his past, maybe to do with his parents that he lost, and things like that. Things that we have yet going into the 4th season of this show to explore when it comes to Gar. And that's a disservice to this character. One of the core 4. It's a disservice to not have explored this with this guy. So I just hope that we finally get that. So I was happy that we got that moment for him to say, I don't know where it came from, and I really want to do better. And let this be a way that we're going to, you know, get something from them. Solomon joining us in the live chat is saying, the red balloon made me think of it. LOL. But seriously, maybe it symbolizes Red Hood. It could. Maybe it symbolizes Red Hood. Andreas is saying Jason was in love last season. What happened? Well, Rose had to go somewhere. She wasn't in the budget this season. I think that's what happened, to be honest. And I'm with you though. No mention at all, right? Solomon saying, while they explain Gar's limitation, it's 2 seasons too late. It is. And I just hope maybe in season 4 now, maybe if they're really hearing what people are saying, they know we want Gar to have a little bit more, and hopefully we get it. Icky is saying, I at the very least want Fizon and Karis to woo Corey. It's only to woo Corey. Also, what was the point with the therapist? I thought he was working for Khan, but I guess not. Yeah, they dropped. We'll talk about that. We got to talk about that. They kind of just dropped that plot line. I don't know why. Andrea is saying, no, he can talk to animals, then transform. And that's cool, right? I did see that he can communicate with animals. Let's play on that a little bit more. Ray is saying the Joker versus It, who would win, right? I mean, as a horror fan, of course, y'all know I thought of Pennywise when I saw that balloon, but I'm like, wait a minute. That wrong show, wrong area of wrong genre. What is this? Didn't get it. Okay, so let's talk about Calm and Connor. Oh man, Connor was annoying this episode. I mean, understandably so. Not annoying, like, oh my gosh, why did they make him do it? But like, wow, they made him do this. I feel like I feel like Calm and Connor were rushed for the plot line. I'm gonna say they were literally put together so that what happened this episode could happen. That's why they were put together. This show I feel like the way the writers sometimes write this show is, we need this to happen. We want this to happen. So let's make something happen so we get to this point, rather starting from the beginning and see where it leads. They already have an idea of what they want to do, and it's just a matter of making other things happen to get to the thing they've already decided they want to do, which is why a lot of things seem contrived. Why Crane has to get to this point? Well, we got to make it so no one can take him out until that point. So contrived things happen. Same thing with this. We need to make it so Calm is stuck on Earth, because that seems to be the choice. How do we do that if she still has her ship, so on and so forth, right? And how do we make it emotionally weighty, right? So we give her Connor. So we build up this thing with her and Connor, right? Which I thought they were beautiful this episode. I thought it was tragic. I'm pretty sure Calm's gonna hate him now. But I thought it was tragic, but I was also kind of like, man, this is, like a supernova, right? It just kind of came and it was gone. And it was just like, okay, you made all that just to have this emotional weight right here. And it's kind of contrived. But what he did, I think it also shows his immaturity, right? I usually like Connor. I love Crypto. Crypto is one of my favorite characters. I love that dog. But I feel like and this is what I mean. Remember what I said, y'all, about how this show can't seem to write for people unless they have some baggage going on. And I said it. I was like, the whole thing with Connor having his conundrum between Lex and Superman was not a coincidence. I feel like they've been doing that on purpose. And this episode really just drove that home. But let me know what you think. But I honestly think that's what we saw here. We saw whatever they're trying to get him, whatever road or plot line they're trying to get this guy to go on, playing with this Lex versus Superman thing. That's what we saw. We saw that coming. And I'm a little sad about it because I do love Superboy. I've loved him since he came on the show, and I loved when Corey saved him and all of that. And I think I'm leaning on it showing his immaturity because he woke up, right? Like, Calm healed him. And she's like, F the Titans. And of course, Calm is going to say F the Titans. But when he got him and said, yeah, F the Titans, I'm like, wait a minute. That was Grayson that did that to you. It wasn't Corey, the one who saved your life in season 2 when you came on. It wasn't Gar, who's basically your brother. It wasn't Rachel. It wasn't any of these people. Dick messed up. He pulled some stuff. Yeah. Deal with Dick, sure. But like, F the whole team? Really? F everybody? I was like, what? Like, okay, that's a lot. That's a choice. NTLY is saying Connor has the physical development of an adult, but intellectually he's lacking. Yeah, I agree. Jed, thanks for joining us in the chat, Jed. Jed is saying, do you think they're doing the Judas contract with Connor? Because I don't think they'll bring Tara in anytime soon. Yeah, I mean, I know Greg Walker, when he did the Reddit QA, he had mentioned he wants to bring Tara in at some point, but they don't know how they would show her powers and stuff if they did and what that would look like. So they may be trying to do something of the Judas contract with Connor maybe in the future, but I don't know if that would go that far because I felt like in a way they kind of did the Judas contract with Rose, didn't they? Already in season 2. So maybe. I'm not sure. Bannon is saying, I was disappointed with what they did with Connor. I think he would have wanted the best for Calm as he understood her the most. Exactly. It was such a, I'm not going to say out of character move because yes, that is something Lex would do, right? That is probably something that Lex Luthor would do. So that's why I'm saying I feel like they're leaning towards this kind of push and pull between him and his dark side and stuff. But I'm like, you share DNA. You weren't raised by Lex. You weren't raised by Superman. What happened to nature versus nurture? If you're in an environment where people are loving you and supportive of you, why would you inherently have this dark side? That doesn't really make much sense to me because that's not really how it works. I don't really think that's how it works. I mean, that's like saying someone has a dad and, they get with their mom and the dad's a really crappy guy, but, you're raised by your mom who's a great person. I mean, are you going to inherently have bad things because your dad was crappy? Like, you didn't even know your dad. You never met him. So how are you being influenced by such a dark side, But I feel like that's what they're leaning towards with him. But let me know what y'all think. Do you think this is Connor? I thought once he did that blow up thing, I honestly was like, yo, is this his origin villain story? Is this his villain origin story? Because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why is he going on the deep end? And how are they going to forgive him? How is Calm going to forgive him? I don't see her forgiving him. I see him maybe wanting her forgiveness, but maybe that's their plot line next season. If Calm stays on and he's still there, him trying to get back in her good graces or dealing with his dark side. I feel like they're probably going to make it so he has to deal with his dark side. So maybe we might see Lex Luthor soon enough, right? They might be bringing, I know that was a rumor at one point that Lex Luthor might come on later on and be a villain somehow. I would like some Titans villains before we get some Superman villains. Can we get some real Titans villains first? But I could see it happening. At least I would feel like if they were going up against Lex, it would be a little bit more of a real fight, though, because Lex be having his stuff together. Before we go further, guys, though, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up or a like. And if you would like to show some super chat love, if you want me to answer a question a little bit deeper or anything like that, or just show some super chat love, that is always appreciated. Just throwing that in there for you. Let's see. Viola is saying, I would love if this show Slade got a second chance to shine in a Judas contract redux after the mess that season 2 ended up being. Yeah. What's Ray saying? Ray saying Lex too busy giving gifts to fifth dimensional beings on Supergirl. Yeah, I mean, but this is a different universe, my understanding. So he could show up. Deb is saying, I just think Calm is Connor's first love, his first everything, which is why he became so possessive and blew up Calm's ship so she couldn't leave. Yeah. I can see, I definitely see that. I mean, there's ways of leaning, but he's talked about, he's literally named the Lex side of him though. So I would rather go with what you're saying, Deb, which is he's just immature and he doesn't know any better. And he's a super powered, immature guy. So he's going to do stupid stuff with his powers because he threw a tantrum. He essentially threw a tantrum. But I feel like they've mentioned his Lex side one too many times for it to just be a coincidence because this show doesn't really do subtle. So it could go either way, but I'd rather it go your way of him just having a moment. Jed is saying, do you think we'll meet Ryander anytime soon, which is my understanding. Ryander, right? That is Corey and Calm's brother. I could see it. That would be something. Maybe they remix it, right? Because when it comes to this Corey and Calm situation, what we've seen, y'all, we were told Calm was going to be the villain this season. She has not done any kind of villainy thing. She really hasn't. I mean, short of a reference to them killing their parents, which was kind of just blown over. I mean, how does Corey really feel about that? Didn't she love her mom? I don't understand. Short of that, she wasn't really the villain. And I don't know if the show has just decided not to make her be the villain at all. Maybe they did a remix. Maybe what they're trying to do now is they make the brother the villain. I could see that if they have a brother, but they haven't mentioned him at all. But if they have a brother, maybe the brother becomes the villain. Maybe the brother decides he wants to take over and rule and he doesn't want his sisters to do it. I mean, if they're remixing all of this up, which we see that they're totally willing to do, they made Corey the older sister without the powers, but she actually had some secret powers that we still don't know about because she didn't get to use them this episode. What? Like, why didn't Corey get to use any of her powers this episode? I don't understand. But anyway, and maybe Ryander is the one who ends up doing it. I don't understand, right? Maybe they could do that. I could see them doing that. Some other things that didn't work for me with that plot line with the Calm, Corey, and Connor plot line. I love that they had the 3 superpowered beings kind of having their own thing to do. And this is what I mean. What they've done is they've given the superpowered beings people busy work in a way. Or other work other than Crane, leaving just Dick and Jason to face him because Corey, Calm, and Connor are busy doing this thing with the spaceship. Donna's busy doing this thing with Tim. So it's their own kind of thing, right? Because we all know if they weren't busy, this would be done by now. My issue with the whole thing about like the handling of the fuel, I didn't understand why Calm or Corey couldn't do that. I also didn't understand that when the ship blew up, that everyone flew back but Connor. Aren't Corey and Calm superpowered beings? It's really weird to me how they pick and choose when they're super powerful versus when they can't do anything. And it usually is driven by a plot. Like they had it so Connor had to be the one to do the fuel thing. But from my understanding, don't Calm and Corey have similar powers that they could have handled this really hot thing? Are they not? I mean, is Calm's powers not like fueled by the sun? Why couldn't she handle that? I didn't understand that. Let's see what some of y'all are saying in here. Bannon is saying, no, Calm has been a great addition to Titans. Not a villain at all, but someone overcoming obstacles to become a stronger person. And I actually agree with that. And see, that's the funny thing. Now that I know Calm isn't necessarily a villain, I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of like that she's not the villain. She actually is a good addition to the show. I do agree with that. What I would have preferred is she got her chance to be the villain for a bit, and then she get the redemption arc that they're giving Jason. I feel like they switched it off. You know, it was kind of like, I felt like what could have happened was Calm could have came out there, guns blazing, ready to do battle, have them have to deal with that for most of the season. Then, you know, the reveal of how she was wronged comes out, and she kind of decides, you know, maybe I don't want to be this evil entity anymore. We could have had that. Instead, they made it so she wasn't a villain at all. And so that's why it actually leads me to believe that they are, because it's too good of a plot line to leave there, right? I think someone from Tamaran has to be a villain, because it's just too good of a plot line to just leave there, I think, you know. And it was such a defining thing for the Titans when Corey had to go against, you know, the Citadel and all that other stuff. So I feel like they're going to have to remix it somehow. I just feel like Corey and Calm won't be the ones who are Calm won't be the villain in this. So it might be Ryander, right? It might be the brother, or maybe one of their parents isn't dead, you know? Maybe it's that. Trant is saying, I really hope that Starfire gets back her firepower somehow. Well, you know, my thing with that, Trant, is that not so much, I'm curious to see what these new powers are about. Those weren't her powers. I mean, that's the canon of the show. I know we're not all happy about it, but the power that all the other Tamarans had is not the power that Corey had. Corey has some new kind of power. And I'm curious, I think if they do it justice, it can be awesome. But I'm worried they won't, because they seem to want to nerf Corey and Calm's power, and Rachel's power, and Donna's power, whenever they just kind of want to, you know, either keep a villain going or show just how powerful Connor is. And I don't really understand that. Ray is saying they needed Kryptonian level strength to get the type of nuclear fusion to make this happen. Okay. So maybe he's a bit stronger than they are. Okay. I can see that. Bannon saying, and that bugs me the most about this show is how they take away and give them back their powers when the plot needs it. Exactly. See what some of y'all are saying. Ray is saying Corey and Calm are nowhere as near as strong as durable as Connor. Tamarans are not as powerful as Kryptonian is. That's debatable. It depends. It's debatable. In certain aspects, I think they actually could beat them. Let's not act like Kryptonians are like the be all end all. You know, you heard Connor say they can't even survive on Tamaran, Kryptonian. So they can't be that strong if they can't survive on a certain planet, just because if they can come to Earth and survive, but they can't survive on Tamaran. So I think it's debatable. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. I think what we're going to see is that Calm's going to stay around for a bit, which will be interesting. I'm a little worried though, because wasn't Rose standing around with them at the end of season 3? I mean, end of season 2 as well. And then she suddenly wasn't there. So I'm kind of hoping that does not happen with Calm. I'm hoping that if Calm goes with them, that it's not going to be, oh yeah, Calm decided to go explore Earth on her own, and she's just like off doing something. I mean, Calm doesn't have to be a full-time Titans member. She really doesn't. But I hope it's not a thing like what they did with Rose, where they just kind of shuffled her off somewhere and we were just told that she left somewhere and that's why she's off screen. Because that would just be a waste of this character and all the work you did with them, right? Deb saying Calm and Corey not being able to fire up that ship, then get blown back was so idiotic. Remember season 1, Corey blew up the lab while she was still in it and came walking out through it like nothing. Yes. It's something. Okay, so then we had, I'm just gonna talk briefly. Barbara escaped. Cool. I don't think there's anything else to talk about with Barbara. And she seems to be trying to get Oracle started back up again. Maybe she'll find some officers who aren't corrupt and take back her city, but right now she's been kind of useless. So, and that's what they've done to this character. Aside from her little whatever that is with Dick, they kind of made it so she was kind of like ineffective as the commissioner, which is really, to me, a disservice to that character. But that's where we were. And then what we got is also Jason's redemption, right? I loved that Dick told him, you'll never be a Titan. Like, that's over. Someone needed to say it. But I'm glad that... yes, Bannon, that is shade. It is. It's shade. I'm throwing shade. I don't care. I don't want her on this show anymore. I like Savannah as the actress. We don't need Oracle and we don't need a Barbara Gordon on a Titan show. It's silly. Isn't she on Young Justice? I mean, damn. I've never been a fan of Batgirl anyway, though, y'all. I'll disclose that bias for you. I've never really cared for that character. So, you know, it looks like we're going to get a redemption arc with Jason. It looks like he's finally taken, you know, well, Crane ran him out with his crop cutter. So we finally got that too. I'm fine with that. If we get a Red Hood spinoff, will you watch it? I think that's my question to you all too. Will you watch a Red Hood spinoff if we got it? You know, the thing is, Red Hood actually can be part of the Titans. I think there are some comics where he is. I don't think it's, you know, sometimes you have like the core of the Titans and then you have people that kind of rotate in and out depending on like what the actual mission is, like Donna or, you know, Red Hood and things like that, which is fine. I'm down for that. So I wouldn't be against it. I just worry that this show is so not skilled at balance that with too many people who they have an inkling to want to write about more than others, that if they get to stay on, they'll gobble up screen time. I feel at this point, Red Hood needs to go somewhere. Not permanently, because I think he actually could be a good addition to the team when they need help in certain things, you know, make an appearance. But in terms of a full-time member, I think we got enough of him this season and we need a break. I do think we need a break. I think Connor needs to find himself too. I don't know how he's going to come back from that, to be honest. I don't know how they're going to kind of justify that with it. So, I don't know. Bannon is saying, I'd give it a chance, but a short one. Deb is saying, wait a minute, sorry. Let's see what Deb was saying. Deb is saying, Barbara who? Right? Barbara who? Who's Barbara? There was a Barbara this season? I don't know. No, I liked some of her stuff. I just felt like they gave her way too much focus. Deb is saying, not at all interested in Red Hood series, but at least not if it's by these writers. Yeah. Ban is saying, maybe it's their way maybe it's their way to get rid of Connor. Maybe. I don't know. I think if we get it, that's fine. I feel like some Titans people are calling for it because they think it's a good way to make it so that Red Hood doesn't suck up air on a Titan show anymore. And in my darkest thoughts, I kind of agree with that, but they'd find a way. Honestly, the writers have to want to write about Titan source material. It doesn't matter who's sucking up air. As we see, they were able to make Crane, the Scarecrow, suck up a whole season's worth of air. It's not about who's there to make it so what they write about. It's about the writers and the showrunner, or more importantly, the showrunner. That's the most like decision-making person. It's about the showrunner choosing to write about the main Titans characters. And so far, in the past 2 seasons, he has chosen not to. And that's a problem. And hopefully he listens that people want a show that focuses in on Titans, the proper Titans proper. And it's at this point that he has to start listening to that, or, you know, it's just going to be really obvious that they don't care about that. Ray is saying the Red Hood series is going to be a redemption series like Angel, but I hope it has a Jessica Jones darkness to it. Okay. Viola is saying, if Janae Smollett Black Canary movie actually happens, I hope they bring back this actress for Barbara to make Birds of Prey happen and keep her away from this show. I could see that. She could definitely be, although we do have a Batgirl, although she's not Oracle. We did hear a casting for Batgirl coming up. So Icky is saying Titans needs a new team of writers. I think they need I think the showrunner needs to, I don't think they're bad at writing. I think the showrunner needs to give them better direction. And I think that's been the problem, because since season 2, it feels like Greg Walker hasn't been about trying to center the Titans in a Titan show. And I think he needs to kind of listen to what the audience wants in that regard. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. I guess we'll have an understanding come season 4, because they got a season 4. People are watching. I'm still watching, you know, knock on wood, God willing, but it's been hit and miss, you know. But overall, I didn't hate this episode. I thought it was solid enough. I'm looking forward to episode 13 to see how they tie these things up and where it goes. I'm happy we got a little inkling into a possible Dick and Corey child. So that'll be cool to see. And yeah, Deb, I agree. The show needs more cohesiveness, and that means they need a direction. They need the showrunner to tell the writers what's your focus, right? Van is saying, I am still watching. I still love my characters. Agreed. Yeah, I'm hopeful. As you can see, I ranted a little bit, but I tried to do the glass half full in this one, y'all. So we will see. But once again, thank you all for joining me. It's always a pleasure talking and diving into this story with you. If you have watched Halloween Kills, please join me this Thursday as myself and my partner will be talking about some spoiler talk when it comes to Halloween Kills and the Halloween franchise and what happened when it came to this movie. I've got some thoughts about Halloween Kills. So, you know, join me for that. And I will be trying to do Chucky, the Chucky series. I will be trying to do some live streams on the Chucky series. So stay tuned for that on when those will be. I'm not sure if I'm going to do just the whole series overall because I think it's just 8 episodes. So maybe once it airs, I might do a spoiler talk on the whole season, or I might try to do episode by episode, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. It's always a pleasure talking to all of you. And until next time, stay safe. Have a great week ahead of you. And hopefully you find some great stories to dive into. Okay. Talk to you later.